Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a PMDG 777 beta tester, and welcome to our first flight in the PMDG Boeing 777 freighter. Today we're going to haul 102 tons of cargo from Seoul in Korea over to Beijing's Daxing Airport, which by the way is courtesy of Thai Models, who have just released a superb rendition of the new airport for our beloved simulator. So, let's take a look at what's different with the 777 freighter. The obvious answer, of course, is that a large cargo door has been added to the back of the aircraft and that the airframe is based on the 777-200LR rather than the 300ER. Therefore, we do have that huge little hole in here in which we can load a lot of different cargos, such as pallets or even cars. But let's go ahead and have a more detailed look into the cargo hold coming from the inside. So we are standing here at door 1 left, and a lot has changed inside the aircraft. We can see that instead of our lovely galley and flight attendants, we now have a supernumerary area with a small kitchen where we've got to make the food for ourselves. The most important thing though, the coffee maker is certainly present in this aircraft as well. Next to this is the crew rest compartment. And then we have a couple of business class seats in here for any supernumeraries that may accompany our cargo. Think, for example, some doctors in case you are transporting racing horses, or just some personnel accompanying any of the cargo, or even company staff. Now, from here we can go into the back of the aircraft, into the cargo hold. And we can open the door over here, but before we go in flight, we always need to carry a bottle of oxygen with an oxygen mask with us, because there are no more oxygen masks inside the cargo hold of the freighter. Now, if we take a careful look, we can see that there are two walls up here in the front. Now, there is of course one cosmetic cover over here, if we can call it like that, and then there is a much stronger wall in between over here, and this wall is designed so that the aircraft so that any cargo that may come loose during the flight is not going to crash forward into the manned areas, so that nobody can get hurt in case of an accident. Now, if you go further to the back of the aircraft, you will notice that a lot of attention to detail went down into the areas where all the pallets are loaded, but also into the sides of the fuselage here. For example, over here we can find a load control panel, and we can find the spot where you can at any time plug yourself in and talk, for example, to the cockpit. Now, going further aft, we are eventually going to find the controls for the main deck cargo door. But as you can see, the aircraft is rather long, so it is a little while until we get all the way to here. Now, in case you haven't noticed just yet, we are walking past lights on the right-hand side here all the time, and those lights are actually operable through the panel that we can find in the supernumerary area. More on that later on in the video, or latest by the time we do a night flight. Now, we are reaching the aft cargo door, which is of course the most important feature of the entire aircraft. And over here we do have a huge space for loading, and of course we have a custom loader attached to it as well. Next to that you will find an escape rope so that you can evacuate through here if needed. You will find the aft cargo door control panel, which is actually fully simulated and which we are going to have a look at a little bit later on in the video. Last but not least, you also have a window down here so that you can actually check outside before operating the door, since it opens outboard. Last but not least, we also have a storage for the door strap over here, which unfortunately doesn't really work in the version that I've gotten for the preview. As you can see, it kind of should come up over here. You can see where it should be, and that's in case there is no loader attached, so that nobody can fall out of the aircraft, since this is rather high. Alright. So, looks like we are flying some fine Yorkshire tea today towards our destination, but I'm afraid the flight is over already, since somebody loaded the boxes the wrong way around, and well, there's a clear signal over here. We can't fly like that. We have to unload these boxes. No Yorkshire tea for the Chinese, it seems. In any case, let's go back forward. Apart from that, we have a lot of PMDG boxes over here. Looks like they are finally getting their wood pigeon after all these times. It's really been too long of a wait for the wood pigeon, but look at how well they used all the space inside our aircraft and stuffed it all the way to the top. Okay, so we are reaching the supernumerary area once again, so let's go forward and close up the door to the cargo compartment over here. Again, I do like those animations here of all the grips and everything that turns. Likewise, we can now operate the doors from the flight deck, so we can operate the door using the door handle over here. Only there is a bug at the moment that it just closes again straight away if there is no stair or ladder attached, as we have it on the other side of the aircraft, but I suppose that is something that we'll just have to live with for the time being. In any case, let's have a quick look at the cargo door control panel. So, with the panel on the top over here, we can actually control the doors, and you can see that there are several safety mechanisms built into here, which we are going to demonstrate before we start our pushback on our way to Beijing. On top of that, there is a video camera installed that you can use in order to monitor what's going on around the door if you're operating it from the front over here, since we can't see the cargo door from the forward supernumerary area. Below that, we've got a control panel that can, amongst others, control the lighting in the main deck cargo door, the temperature in the supernumerary area, and also the lights inside the supernumerary area, including the emergency light test, which we can just run over here for a moment. If we look at this, now press the emergency light test, you can see things are getting quite a lot brighter over here, and the emergency lights are now on, and now it would be up to us as the crew to check that all the lights are operating correctly, and we are therefore safe to evacuate the aircraft if needed. After a certain while, these lights are automatically going to go off again. Now, let's go into the cockpit and have a look at some of the changes that we have inside the cockpit of the 777 freighter. Now, you've probably already seen the most important point here, in that we don't have a cockpit door anymore, but we now simply have a curtain in the front. That's because any staff that needs to fly along in the supernumerary area needs to be security cleared anyway, so therefore we don't need to apply as strict measures to the freighter as we'd need to do to the passenger version of the aircraft. We do have 4 seats over here, which can take any kind of personnel that might fly along. Think, for example, doctors in case you're transporting animals, or think any staff that accompanies any of the cargo that is getting transported. Also, you might find airline staff in here, since in many airlines the staff is actually allowed to jump seat in the flight deck, or rather in the supernumerary area. Okay, so let's go to the front and have a look at some of the changes inside the cockpit itself. So the first thing we'll notice is the air conditioning panel. We now have temperature controllers for the lower deck cargo compartment, and we can control the temperature in the main deck cargo compartment. On top of that, a fire extinguisher has been added to the main deck, and we'll go into more details on those in a dedicated video. Of course, since this airframe is based on the 777-200 instead of the 300, we no longer have a taxi camera, so you can see the spot for that is blank down here on the display control panel, and the taxi camera lights have also been removed. There are a couple of other changes as well, but those are, in my opinion, the most important. Other changes include, for example, down here the call panel, which is different, since we don't have the area call buttons in the 3rd FMC anymore on the freighter. Now, let's go ahead and have a look at a couple of the displays that are different. So, on one hand side, if you go over to the status page, you can see that the oxygen pressure has been changed, so that we also have the supernumerary oxygen pressure on board here. In other words, the aircraft is not fitted with oxygen masks, but rather it is fitted with canister, or with a bottle of oxygen that's being used for the supernumerary area. So next up, the air panel is of course different as well, since we now have the cargo compartments which are heated, and we've got a separate flight deck and supernumerary area. And if we go over to the door panel, of course that's reflecting the cargo configuration as well. Okay, so that much about our basics of the changes of the 777 freighter. How about we go ahead and actually fly the aircraft? Let's give it a go. So, the oil quantity is looking good for our flight. The hydraulic quantities are looking good as well. Then we can do a recall to see what kind of messages we have over here, and then cancel them away, and then we can do our flight deck oxygen test here as well. So far so good. Then let's continue and start to work on our procedures. So we're going to start on the overhead panel here. ADRU switch is coming on, and then we can already move down to our electronic flight bag. On the ground operations tab, obviously you find all the controls for our cargo services now instead of the passenger services. Well, and with that, let's get right into it. So we are going to request the new data from SimBrief, then a quick check that our IRAC is up to date, and with that, let's go ahead and start picking our charts. So we are going to go off from Seoul Airport, and if we have a look at the airport chart itself, we are parking up here on cargo apron number 1, pushing back, taxi southbound, and then via Golf to runway 33 right for our takeoff. Our expected departure is the no-pick to Yankee, but I do believe that there are some changes to that, because we are going to take a different runway than what SimBrief suggests, and indeed it is going to be the no-pick to Alpha departure for us. So let's go down into the FMS and start setting up. 777-200 GE90 engine with a current enough database. We can copy and paste the GPS position and then over to the route page, where we can do a route request from SimBrief, set the payload, set the fuel, and then we can go ahead and select the route. Now you might have noticed something, in that we've just had our weights in pounds over here. And this is because the 777 freighter is indeed sold as a separate product, so you don't need to have the 300ER in order to be able to get the freighter. But this also means that all our options are actually different, or rather not linked to those from the 300ER. Therefore, we need to set up all these options on our own, and that of course applies to the aircraft options as well. So down here we can make our selections, or we can just load it from another. For example, I'm gonna load my aerologic configuration into here, and that gives me a nice configuration for my aircraft without the need to worry about it any further. Now let's go down here and start to load up our fuel. And for the fuel, I am going to take 23 tons today, as it is a rather short flight. Okay, please load up our route data uplink, and then we can also go into the CPDLC already. Company information, ATIS request. Now let's clear those scratch pad messages down here. Copy Seoul, paste Seoul, bat them, send. Okay, so departing runway 33 right, no pick to Alpha departure, and we are going to arrive in Beijing via the ILS approach runway 1 left, coming in via the DOOMAP 6 Mike with the Alpha Delta 521 transition. Alright, load that up and execute, and then we can go down to the legs page and check our SID. So straight at Alpha Delta 020 above 2000, waypoint 050 above 5000, waypoint 140 above 14,000, and then on to no pick above 16,000, and all of those are in. Okay, load the wind data and execute that, and the same of course applies to our descent winds as well, which we can load in here as well. Now, on the progress page, we're looking at 564 nautical miles for our flight, and 564 is exactly what was planned as well. Then let's draw a 25-mile ring for our MSA awareness up here. And let's also have a look at our departure chart, since we are departing in Korea, and we do not accidentally want to fly to North Korea, of course. There used to be some radial on the charts that we shouldn't cross, but looks like they have removed that nowadays. But as you can see, round about here, I'd guesstimate that to be maybe 20 miles is actually the North Korean boundary, so I am going to enter that in the FMS as well, to be sure that we don't accidentally fly into North Korea. Okay, so then let's go ahead with our setup, and we do not need any nav radios. Transition altitude 14,000 is correct. So then we can go on to our performance, and we can accept the automatic uplink, but those reserves are definitely not correct there, 19.1 tons. So we always got to cross-check the uplinks, because it is not guaranteed that they are correct. So looking at this, we are looking at around 8.3 for our reserves. So 8.3 going into here. Cruise level 340, that's all looking correct. Minimum fuel temperature is -44. The cruise CG 30. And then on to the takeoff page, number 2, where we can set our acceleration altitude to 1,000 feet. And that's it. Now, the weather today is a little bit changing all the time. So, a few moments before I started recording, it was rather rainy. Now it's not. We gotta pay careful attention to the runway conditions, or we just select wet straight away, because it is more conservative anyway. So last but not least, copy the route, and then let's do a quick route check up here. So, Seoul to Beijing, Korean 777, and for the route itself, we've got Nopik, Yankee 697 Binil, Golf 597 Agavo, and that's the boundary into China. Then Alpha 591 Ikeka, Whiskey 4 Charlie Hotel Charlie, Whiskey 200 Doviv, Whiskey 55 Dumap, and with that our route is in and checked. So, something you will find to be new in the 777-300, or rather fixed, is that COM messages no longer appear on the iCast. That was a bug previously, only ATC messages should appear over there. So now that we have the COM messages, we can just double click the COM page, and that's going to load them down into here. So, wind 060 at 3 knots, visibility 10, clouds broken 2000, temperature 3, QNH 1024, which we can of course already pre-select. So 1024 is set once, and we can set that a second time over here already as well. So that's looking good. Then let's go ahead with the overhead scan. So Adaru is on, everything's set up here. Oh, looks like the voice recorder switch is missing. Well, that's gonna be a bug report once the video recording is over. So emergency lights coming on, the supernumerary signs can come on. Up here we don't need to do anything. Up here, again, we don't really need to do anything, but something I would suggest is that we take the lower deck cargo temperatures and just turn them up a little bit here, so that they are at least somewhere in the controlled range. Right, nothing to be set over here, which leads us right onto the main panel. And over here the lights are set, the heading reference is normal, auto brake RTO, and then we can go further down. COM panel, I'm gonna do my standard setting here, 1.228 and 1.1.5. Like that. So, transmit and listen to VHF 1 with VHF right as a backup, weather and turbulence. We don't need the second panel, and the same on the FO's panel as well. TCAR is going to above, and we'll definitely not use that strange squawk 1234, but we'll use 2000 instead. Okay, and with that our panel setup is completed. Now let's go up to the glacial panel. And over here it's just literally the standards. Reset the pre-flight checklist please. We already did the comms. The recall is checked and acknowledged. And the FO panel can be set as well. And with that we are done with our flight deck setup. Okay. Park and brake going into position, and then I suppose we do a quick departure briefing over here. But let's do it quick. I really gotta say, I like the smarter briefing so much, I'm gonna do that. So, first officer, it's your turn. Okay, departing Seoul, runway 33 right, no pick to Alpha departure. Initial climb, I don't know, somewhere around 5,000 or something. MSA-wise, 3,000 keeps us safe, but 20 miles ahead we find North Korea, which we definitely don't want to explore personally today. In terms of extra fuel, we have just around 500 kilos, which is okay. Alright, thank you very much. No hotspots for the taxi, and for our takeoff, 33 right, as you correctly said, we are above the maximum landing weight, but just slightly, so if we come back immediately, we may have to do the overweight landing procedures. Now, if we need to return, then Seoul is our best option. We'll go into any of those runways. We have a rather high cloud base in 2,000 feet, so if there is any fire, anything we cannot control, then we can just fly traffic pattern in 1,000 feet, and if we do that, it would be a left-hand pattern, so that we don't fly over the city of Seoul. Well, and that is my main part of the briefing over here. I don't have anything special or non-standard. Do you see any threats? No? Beautiful. So that's our briefing complete then. So, pre-flight checklist. Oxygen, tested 100%. Flight instruments, heading 334, altimeter 1024, reading 40, set left, set right. Pre-flight checklist complete. Okay, I think we are in a good position now to start closing up our doors. So let's first of all go ahead into the ground operations and release all those ground vehicles. And then we can go on to the doors. No. Okay, it's closing them automatically since I've released the vehicles. Nice little feature, though I've got to say I do want to close the door manually. So I'll wait until this is closed and then I'm just going to open it again so that we can do that manually. In the meantime, though, let's just go over into the supernumerary area already and let's have a look at the doors over here, because there are a couple nice features of what you can do. So, first things first, of course the door would have been open. Now, we can close it just by clicking onto the click spot of the door handle over here. And once the door is closed, we can actually arm it right over here as well. And that is something that we should absolutely do. So, both doors are armed. Perfect. Then let's I'll tell you what, let's go back to the flight deck for a moment over here and open that main deck cargo door. And then we can go to the back and close it manually. So here we are at the control panel, and of course it has closed automatically, but let me show you how to do this yourself. So first things first, normally you'd find it like, oh boy, bugging around a little bit here. Okay, so anyway, we see the unlocked light already. Next up, you're going to put the switch to the top, like that, and then you can simply click and hold the open button, and the door is going to open. Unfortunately, there are a couple bugs in this at the moment, in the opening and closing mechanisms, which prevent the correct operation of the door, which are related to the compatibility with GSX. I'm afraid that's something that just can't be solved that easily, so hopefully in the future version, or in the actual release version, remember I'm using a beta to record this one, it will work better. Well, last but not least, let's go ahead and close the door over here. And with that, both doors are in the armed position. Let's go to the front and get the aircraft ready. Remember, no cabin crew, this is pilot stuff in the freighter. So now the cargo door is opening. Okay. Even though it is showing closed over here. I have a feeling I know why this is. This is because the door is actually unlocked on the switch. So let's just move to the back again for a bit and see if we can fix this. Maybe we can do up here. So, you lock. No. Come on. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see if we can fix this somehow. So, taking a seat over here, and then, let's just go ahead and request that side cargo loader once again. That's going to open the door again, and thereafter we can close it again from scratch, and that should hopefully fix our main deck cargo door. This is a little bit unfortunate that of course this has to happen during the preview video, but well, I am not surprised about that. So side cargo release, and this should now go ahead and close that door again. Let's just view it from here, and it's actually opening. Okay. Well, that's good. Once it's open, we can see if we can manually close it again, and then it should hopefully work. Okay, so door is open and door is closing again. And once it's closed, it's hopefully going to lock. Let's just go over there and see that from the back. So now the strap is in place. Since the loader is no longer present, and this is going to prevent you from falling out of the aircraft in the best case. So the cargo door is coming closed. By the way, while we're looking at it, over there you can see the camera that is used for the supernumerary area. Okay, door closed. Door latching. And here we go. So, closed, latched, locked. Excellent. And now we should no longer get any door indication in the cockpit as well. See? Perfect. Alright, let's get GSX. Prepare for pushback and departure, please. Do you want to request de-icing? No. We do not need de-icing under these weather conditions. It's 3 degrees, but we're open 2000. There is no ice down here. Okay, so let's have a look. The actual weight of the aircraft, 246.6, and that's a gross weight of 269.6. Now let's go ahead and do some calculations with that. Performance, runway, 33 right. It is dry for the time being, so import all the data, import the weather, and calculate. So, takeoff 2 at 50 degrees. Alright, 83.2%, and that's correct indeed. Okay, flaps 5 takeoff, we'll take the CG from here, 5.25 trim equals the EFB, and our speed's 163, 163, 164. So obviously we gotta change the first one as we got a wet data in the FMS, 6364, that's all correct. Beautiful. So, ground from flight deck. Go ahead. Please confirm we can pressurize the hydraulic system. That's confirmed, Captain. Thank you. Before start procedure, please. Something like 5,000 for the initial climb. So we have clearance to pressurize. No fuel in the center tank, of course. And 5.25 units trim. Well, you gotta open right when I'm setting my trim right. In any case, that looks more or less accurate. Transponder going on. Before start checklist, please. MCP, V2 164, heading 333, altitude 5000. Takeoff speeds, V1 163, VR 163, V2 164. CDU pre-flight, completed, trim, 5.25 units, 0 and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing, completed, before start checklist complete down to beacon. Ground from flight deck, go ahead. So, push approved, facing west, park brake set. Okay, facing west, release your brakes. Brakes released. Starting the push, stand by for engines. Standing by. Okay, before start checklist complete. And off we go. In theory. Do they still have the chocks in position? Well. Parking brake set. Yeah. Chocks were still in position. That's okay. So release brakes. Brakes released. Let's do this again. Off we go. This is looking better, isn't it? So once we're beyond the line over here, we can go ahead and start the engines. Now let's just change over to the drone over here. I really want to see those engines in action today. I think this is a good view for an engine start, isn't it? Okay, so we are beyond the line. Here we are on the flight deck. Okay. Well, left engine start. This is not what you want to see in the real world, by the way. This is your time to run. The graphics of the exhaust over there are really looking good, aren't they? Okay, that's a good start on engine number 1, and the push is complete. Set brakes, starting engine number 2. And for some reason the auto brake just tripped off. I really don't know why. Majestic looking airplane, isn't it? Run into the truck, because why not? GSX. So we have 2 good starts, clear to disconnect, show me the sign on the right, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Maybe that is an indicator to him to move away from there, instead of just standing for no reason. Okay, so 2 good starts, that goes off, flaps 5. So the tuck is gone, here comes the ramp agent holding a pin in the hands, as we can see. Thank you very much. Flight control check. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Rudders. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Alright, and that auto brake that for some reason disarmed itself. So, before taxi checklist. Anti-ice, auto, recall, checked, flight controls checked, ground equipment clear, before taxi checklist complete. So we are clear on the left side, and we are clear on the right side. Brake released, off we go. 777 freighter, here we go. So we'll go straight out and then a left-hand turn to get onto the parallel to the runway. We can see this in a little bit more detail down here. If we zoom all the way in. and if it doesn't hang our simulator, which unfortunately sometimes it does. So this is looking better. Oh, and we get the lovely graphics bug. Now to solve that, go into windowed mode, then back into full screen mode, and that solves the laggy graphics, mostly at least. Okay, so Delta 3 to the left, onto Delta, and from there we can go to the full length of the runway. Clear on the right side, and we're clear on the left side. So, since the freighter is based on the 200LR, which is quite a bit shorter than the 300ER, we still need to oversteer, but quite a bit less. So, I tend to say this was a fair turn. Yep, looks about like it. Okay then, clear of the apron. That click spot blocking there is annoying. That's GSX for you. Okay, then B4 takeoff checklist. B4 takeoff checklist complete. So, we'll have tailwind of around 5 knots over here. That's as expected. No changes to the takeoff briefing. The approach is clear. Now we just gotta hope the AI understands that runway 34 is preferable here in Seoul, and doesn't give us any approaches to the opposite, which I have a feeling is going to happen, but we'll see. Okay, so I don't see anyone over there, but here comes the AI operating opposite. Of course.
3 right.
Doesn't matter. Okay, tell you what. TA only. Who is this? Blackbird in the action? Alright, are you ready to go? Take off.
3 right.
Set takeoff thrust. Thrust set.
80 knots.
Checked.
Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. $400. So, tiny bit of hand flying here before we eventually are going to turn on the autopilot anyway. Gotta say, this looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Okay, time to accelerate. Flaps 1, speed checked. Flaps 1. Flaps up. Speed checked. Flaps up. Autopilot. So, flaps showing up. Anti-ice is auto. After takeoff checklist. After takeoff checklist complete. So, we'll climb along the SID, initially flight level 140, which is also going to be our transition level. Then a quick check at the TCAS, whatever that guy is doing there. 4,000 feet ahead. Yeah, there he is. Shouldn't be a factor for us. I wonder where he's going if he's flying straight over there. Direct to North Korea? Is that Air Koryo up there? Alright, getting out of the clouds. The clouds themselves, by the way, 2 degrees, so there might be icing in there, but remember we have automatic anti-icing in the 777, so that's nothing we need to worry about. Okay, looking very, very good. Well, I'd say with that we are now out of Seoul and can set course directly to Beijing, where I see you a little bit later during our approach. We're approaching Beijing. I have already completed all the setup, but let's go ahead and review the most important items through our briefing. I am going to follow the safer briefing concepts over here, so let's do this. Now, first officer can start with this one. So, we are already on the DUMAP 6 Mike arrival for an ILS approach runway 01 left. MSA wise, 3000 will keep us safe. The minimum is going to be 272 feet. The go-around is a right-hand turn and climbing 3000 feet, or rather 900 meters, since we're in China now. Extra fuel and time, we're looking at roughly 15 minutes. Okay, thanks. This will be a flight director guided manually flown approach. Landing config 30, stop margin is more than enough. I'm going to keep the auto brakes off as we need to roll all the way to the end anyway. If we have a look at the airport chart itself, we can see we're landing on runway 1 left, which is the one down here, and then vacating most likely Alpha 8 or maybe even at the end Alpha 12, depending on what ATC will give us. In any case, vacate, and then we are going to taxi up north via Bravo, all the way, Bravo, which eventually goes into Kilo, and then this brings us to the cargo apron up here. Alternatively, we could just go via Charlie, that would bring us right onto the apron, and I think that's actually what I'm going to do. What are my engines doing here? Well, we'll pretend we haven't heard anything. So I don't see any hotspots for the taxi in, and there is no special or non-standard operations. Do you see any threats? Not really, huh? Okay, that's our briefing complete. And we've passed 10,000. Lights on, supernumerary signs on. We can be a little bit more relaxed with the supernumerary signs here in the 777 than we have to be in a passenger aircraft. For the simple fact that, well, those people flying on the back of a freighter, they know their business. They are not doing it for the first time like all those holiday makers are. Okay, approach checklist please. Altimeters, QNH 1027. Approach checklist complete. So, let's descend a little bit better over here. Vertical speed, 1000. That should bring us in for a nice straight-in approach onto one left. Well, maybe more like 700 or so. This was really good looking area on the approach here, wasn't it? I like the dimensions of the freighter. It just looks... I don't know, it just looks fitting if you ask me. Beautiful looking model. Alright though, let's go back inside, and over here we got a little bit of altitude management to do. So, let's say we're getting a radar vector here of 3... Yeah, make it 305. Oh, sorry, 315. And then we can take the Fox India on top in the FMS already. So, Fox India one left, onto here, intercept course 001. Execute. And we have 40 miles remaining. That sounds about right. So, everything's set up over here. We're pretty heavy today, at a gross weight of just below the maximum landing weight. If we take a look down at the flight plan, we can see our maximum landing weight is 260.8. And our actual weight right now, 257.8. In other words, we are just 2 tons or 3 tons shy of the maximum certified landing weight of the aircraft. So things are gonna go quick on the approach, but I really do like that. Also notice where our flaps up speed is at almost 230 knots. That's really, well, that's the 777 freighter for you at the maximum weights. I like it very much. It makes for the most versatile operation of all the different 777 types, for the simple fact that sometimes you have very bulky cargo, which however is rather light, which leads to a very low gross weight. In other cases, especially when flying over here in Asia, you're often transporting, well, metal objects, think iPhones or whatever, and those are actually pretty heavy. So those can really bring the aircraft up to very high gross weights. It's a very versatile operation in the freighter, and probably the most versatile of all the different 777 types available. In the passenger version, you know you're always somewhere between a load factor of 70 to 100%, so the range of weights isn't that great. In the freighter, your landing weight can vary, plus or minus, 70 tons. So that's really, really great. It gives you a very diverse experience Also, you often get to fly into places where you typically would not go with your passenger aircraft. So that's one of the advantages of flying the 777 freighter as well. You often get to see places where you probably just haven't been to before. Makes the entire operation quite a bit more interesting if you ask me. Okay, we start to receive an ILS up there. That's India Delta Zulu. And if we check that against the chart, then we should have India Delta November. Okay. Well, probably not the correct ILS that we're receiving then. Okay, so let's go down 3,000, or rather 900 meters. You can use these tables, these feet to meter conversion tables over here. If they clear down to 900 meters, you descend to 2,960 feet, which is 3,000 basically. That's the reason why I've put 3,000 into my MCP. However, there are a couple of altitudes. Think 3,000 meters, which is 9,900 feet, or 3,300 meters, which is 10,800 feet. Or 10,900, depending on how you want to see it. There are some rules on these conversions, so they do need to be done exact. Right, if aircraft performance allows, keep 180 knots until 8 nautical miles from touchdown point. Yeah, our performance most certainly does allow for that. So, level change. By the time we intercept the final, I want my speed reduced to 180 then, and we'll keep that until 8 nautical miles as per the chart. Okay, increasing our rate of descent a little bit, so that we do have some time to reduce our airspeed later on. Even though this is probably a little bit too good. Well, vertical speed, give me 1,000 feet a minute. Okay, India Delta November. And India Delta November. The ILS is identified. Excellent. 20 nautical miles seems about right to me as well. A little bit of a headwind here. Very, very good. So that's exactly what we want to see. So, 5 nautical miles to reduce our speed from 240 towards 180. I think that's quite good. So we'll descend to 3,000, and once we're down there, reduce our airspeed down to the 180 that they want us to fly. In the meantime, runway, it's called 1 left, but the actual course is 001. So in order to intercept the ILS, we'll turn right onto heading 330. And I think we can do that just now already. So heading 330, cleared ILS approach. Approach armed. Glide slope and localizer are armed. Little stutter over here. Looks like it's loading the terrain over there. That's probably the area around the airport, I would guess. So, flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. So, 15 miles out. Good point to reduce our airspeed. So, you're on terrain already. We see that there is no weather, so let's go to terrain over here as well. Flaps 5. Speed checked. Flaps 5. Man, it's reducing really well today. And flaps 15. Speed checked. Flaps 15. Okay, here we are, 180 knots. Well then, let's go ahead and do a little bit of manual flight. So, autopilot, auto throttle off. Localizer alive. Localizer capture. Okay, nicely established. Cabin, please take your seats for landing. It's not that they shouldn't be seated anyway. But safe is safe, huh? Last stop capture. Go around altitude 900 meters set. So, ground speed is about 190 knots. That means in order to maintain the glide, we need a ground speed of roughly... Oh, sorry, a vertical speed of roughly 1,000 feet a minute. And we're passing 8 nautical miles. Then we can continue our deceleration towards the flaps 15 speed. Okay, airport on the 12 o'clock. And I tell you what, I am gonna add 20 feet to the minimum over here for cold temperature correction. Let's make it 292. Right, gear down, flaps 20. And flaps 30. Yeah, the gear is coming, don't worry. See, there it is. Landing checklist. Landing checklist complete. Okay. Checklist complete. Clear to land. We will be stable by the 1,000 foot gate. What else could you wish for? So, my first landing at the new Beijing airport. I did have a small look at it before this flight already, because I got the new time-modeled scenery that they were so generous to give me for this video. And I do have to say it looks pretty good, but I'm waiting to show you guys what that's gonna look like in action just now. Looks like for some strange reason we do have double approach lights over there, but only one of them seems to actually have lights on them.
300. Approaching minimums.
Checked.
200. Minimums.
Continue.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
Okay, touchdown. Right at the end of the touchdown zone, but hey. So, speed brake up, thrust reverse normal. And then we'll just let it roll all the way to the end.
1,500 meters remaining. 1,200 remaining. 900 remaining.
I do really love RAS. Okay, manual brakes.
600 remaining.
That's looking quite good. Alright, here we are, vacating the runway at the end to the left. So, speed down towards 10 knots. And here we go. The taxiway textures are really looking good, aren't
30
they?
meters remaining.
Yep, we got it. So, stopping is just short, we can go out of reverse. Then, straight ahead, second taxiway to the right. Okay, welcome to Beijing, everyone. I do have to say, this is a pretty good looking airport. Certainly one that we should fly into with the A330 at some point, shouldn't we? But for now, let's get the aircraft onto Charlie, so that we can taxi towards the cargo area. And once we're on Charlie, we are going to clean it up. Okay, 10 knots, looking good. Okay, that's Charlie over here. And then, time to add a little bit of power, because we have a little way to go. So, APU starting, lights off, auto brake off, flaps going up, speed brakes going up, and the transponder into alt off. Very good, that's our after landing procedures complete. Very nicely done apron. I like the detailing here, I like the weathering on the taxiways, even though it is a fairly new airport. I think overall this is looking pretty cool. And just look at the terminal building over there. A whole glass front, but they seem to have some rather detailed interiors over there. Definitely something we're gonna have a look at in a future flight. For now, let's explore one of those areas of airports that are often not looked at so closely. That's the cargo area. That's always my ultimate test, how much energy a developer invests into an airport. Because, as we can see, this is looking really superb on the passenger terminal side of things. But of course, passenger operation is not everything, is it? And I gotta say, I could get used to taxiing the airplane in a view like this. Okay, we'll follow the taxiway up there, and the APU is running. Engine to shut down. Okay, we continue to go straight over here. That's runway 11 left over there, and from here that's gonna be our cargo apron. So we are currently here, and we will go somewhere over here, stand 521 I think. So GSX. Parking or ramp? Not sure. So, 521. No follow me needed. Handling by Beijing Airport Ground Services. Looks good. So, and that's what our cargo ramp looks like. I tend to say they did put some details here. I gotta say, this is actually looking pretty good. We've probably not seen the airport for the last time, that's what I can say already. Okay, a little bit of green fields over there, let's taxi across that, because there are a couple more buildings coming up over there, and I think one of them is where we are going to park it. Something I do really like as well is how the aircraft is just maintaining its speed during the taxi over here. Even though we've shut down number 2, the plane just keeps going very nicely on number 1 only. Which is pretty much what I would expect an airplane like this to do. That's just to add this. Okay, clear on both sides, the APU is running. And let's turn those lights off as we're approaching our gate, 521. So, 520 over here, 521, here it is. Speed down towards 10 knots for the entry into the gate. They do have these white lines over here, which can be used to help us to steer onto it. And that's looking pretty good indeed. I like it. Here we are. So the marshal is inside. Let's slow it down a little bit. And stop. Parking brake set. APU running is checked. Shut down. And then both engines are running down. Very good. Shutdown checklist. Parking brake. Set. Shutdown checklist complete. Alright, let's go down here and get ourselves some chocks in place. And why is the ground power on engine inhibit? They are both off. It should become available any moment. Here it becomes available. Very good. Okay, so ground power is connected. And then I suppose we are going to go to the aft now. And we are going to open those doors manually. So, as cargo pilot, of course, we got to do this ourselves. So, one right is disarmed. One left is disarmed, and we can open this already. Of course, in the real world, we'd only do that once the stairs are attached. And then let's go back and let's go ahead and open that door. So the strap is still in place. Okay, first things first, we've got to unlock the door. And the unlock light will illuminate once that is the case. Now. Then we arm the opening. And now we can open the door. And while that's ongoing, let's go ahead and request unloading. Well, my friends, and here we have it. That is our PMDG 777 freighter. I sure hope that you enjoyed our flight today. Leave your feedback in the comments below, and I'm very much looking forward to your take on the aircraft. Thank you so much for watching. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.